I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
Excuse me. Your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White, to play Snow White.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. I truly do believe that.
This is no ordinary apple, my dear. It's a magic wishing apple. A wishing apple? You offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen! Not white, but diverse, inclusive, and equitable! I will become the leader I know I can be! All shall love me and despair!
Oh, what has she done to you? Fear not. First love's kiss can break any curse.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
Who is so truly, and I'll say this word, even though it's cringe to say toxic. And I mean that in terms of she was cancerous. She was toxic to anybody that may have been interested in this. As soon as you heard her talk about herself or this movie, you were no longer interested.
They're remaking the movie. They just got rid of the dwarfs. Okay,
but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarfs, though?
Magical creatures.
But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group. You just erased that whole image. The argument should have been from Peter Dinklage. There's power of being on TV. There's power of television. And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story. Don't change the characters.
This is Rachel Zegler, who Disney decided would be brilliant in casting because, as Rachel Zegler says, her millions of fans will line up no matter what she does to see her.
When I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Rick and Morty is reportedly gearing up for an episode targeting Rachel Zegler, and this one promises to hit even harder than before. While the show has previously taken jabs at her Snow White controversy, the writers clearly believe there's still plenty of material to mine, and fans seem eager for the chaos. The upcoming episode is said to double down on the absurdity, backlash, and tone-deaf moments that have followed Zegler's media spiral. But the real damage isn't the satire itself. It's the fact that Rick and Morty is turning her into a recurring punchline. Like, clip 2.
I am walking into Snow White, 2 p.m., now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope, it's off the woke we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people. One, two, three. So.
Rachel continues to battle brutal headlines, ghosted studio calls, and mounting fan rejection. Becoming the centerpiece of a Rick and Morty roast is the absolute last thing her team needed. Sources say she's privately livid. The parody reportedly leans into every public criticism that she's combative, disconnected, and more invested in activism than acting. And for someone struggling to patch together her Hollywood reputation, being mocked again by TV's most unhinged animated show might just be the most humiliating blow yet.
oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and disliked person in her industry, and her industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
One thing about Snow White in particular has a lot to do with Rachel Zegler's firing situation. We already talked about how she was let go from various projects by the Walt Disney Company, including doing voiceover work for Toy Story 5. To understand how we got here, you have to rewind to what was once a Cinderella story in the making. Rachel Zegler was Hollywood's next breakout star. After her critically acclaimed performance in West Side Story, she was cast as the lead in Disney's live-action Snow White. It should have been her biggest moment. But almost as soon as the project was announced, things started spiraling, not from the movie itself, but from the discourse surrounding it. Rachel's interviews quickly became the center of attention.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937. She's going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Instead of highlighting the legacy of Snow White or expressing genuine excitement to bring the beloved character to life, Rachel Zegler's talking point zeroed in on tearing down the original film. In one clip that quickly went viral, she claimed the prince in the 1937 version literally stalks her and dismissed the entire story as weird and out-offed. The backlash was immediate. To countless fans, it didn't sound like a fresh perspective. It sounded like she was ridiculing the very roots of the classic she had been entrusted to honor.
Disney Snow White, live-action adaptation without Snow White in it, and made by people who hate Snow White, got historically ratioed. This is a historic ratio.
The backlash gained momentum especially as more interview clips surfaced. What some praised as bold and modern, others saw as condescending and out of touch. The phrase girl boss Snow White started trending, and not in a flattering way. Every quote began to be scrutinized. Every appearance, every red carpet moment was met with amplified reactions. And through it all, the original magic that fans had hoped for in a Snow White remake seemed to vanish. One moment that particularly intensified public perception was Rachel's dynamic, or lack thereof, with co-star Gal Gadot.
Please welcome Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Visual effects push the boundaries of what we see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible.
With breathtaking ambition, they create magic that wraps its arms around our wildest imaginations.
Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
During press events and award season, viewers noted their awkward body language. The Oscars moment especially stood out. While they presented together on stage, fans observed zero chemistry and very little interaction. Rumors swirled that Gal had chosen to distance herself from the controversy, and that behind the scenes, things weren't exactly friendly. As all this was unfolding, Disney remained unusually quiet. No major course corrections, no adjusted messaging, just business as usual. But the film itself wasn't connecting with audiences. Gone were the iconic dwarfs. Gone was the prince. Gone was the classic tone. Instead, what made it to theaters was a politically reworked narrative that left many longtime fans confused. Was this even Snow White anymore? That question, once rhetorical, became the heart of the backlash.
Snow White gets her name, not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know Rachel Zegler would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm.
In the end, Snow White debuted to underwhelming box office numbers. Despite its name recognition and Disney's marketing power, it failed to find footing. It wasn't the first live-action remake to struggle, but it was perhaps the most divisive. And now it's being immortalized in pop culture the way Rick and Morty does best, with biting satire that cuts close to the truth. For Rachel Zegler, what began as a career-defining opportunity has become a cautionary tale about public image, franchise loyalty, and the fine line between empowerment and overreach. Whether you agree with her take on the classic or not, the media storm that followed has cemented her Snow White in a very different kind of Hollywood history. After the dust settled and the headlines moved on, the numbers spoke for themselves. Disney's Snow White opened with just $45 million, far below expectations for a live-action remake of one of the most iconic fairy tales in cinematic history. But the box office alone wasn't the end of it. On IMDb, the film tumbled to a staggering low of 1.6, making it one of the worst-rated Disney productions ever. It wasn't just a commercial failure, it was a cultural one. And for Rachel Zegler, who had once stood on the cusp of Hollywood superstardom, it was a stunning reversal of fortune. Viewers didn't just skip the film. They publicly rejoiced in its downfall, turning it into meme material, internet punchlines, and Reddit threads titled, "How Not to Market a Movie." But the chaos didn't stop with the numbers. In a bizarre twist that blurred the lines between scandal and satire, a fake OnlyFans profile using Rachel's AI-generated likeness surfaced online. The account wasn't real, but it didn't need to be. It went viral almost instantly. Thousands followed it, joked about it, and even shared images, believing, however briefly, that it might be her. And while Rachel had absolutely no involvement, the fact that people believed it at all said everything. Her public image had shifted so drastically that the idea of her being impersonated on an adult site didn't strike people as outrageous. It struck them as plausible. That's how far things had unraveled. In the world of entertainment, perception is everything. And after the Snow White fallout, the industry started to change its tone. Quietly, but unmistakably. Casting calls that once had Rachel's name at the top reportedly went in other directions. Projects that were rumored to be in the pipeline now remain unconfirmed, delayed, or mysteriously recast. Studio executives may not say it out loud, but insiders have hinted that many are hesitant to tie their brand to what they now see as a PR liability. In the space of a year, she went from being the face of Disney's future to a cautionary tale for how fast a star can rise and fall. Adding to the turmoil was her very public breakup with longtime partner Josh Andres Rivera. The two had met during West Side Story and were seen as one of Hollywood's rising power couples. But in the aftermath of the Snow White premiere, their relationship reportedly couldn't survive the weight of the media storm. Friends close to the pair suggest that the relentless backlash, constant online attacks, and mounting pressure led to emotional strain that neither could navigate. Rachel, already dealing with a spiraling career, was now also facing heartbreak. The split wasn't just personal. It became yet another headline, feeding the narrative of a young actress unraveling in real time. And then came the moment that many public figures silently fear Rick and Morty took aim. Their latest episode, a follow-up to their already viral Snow White parody, centers on a fictional reboot called Snow Woke the Woke Princess, with a blatantly obvious stand-in named Rachel Z. The satire doesn't pull any punches. In typical Rick and Morty fashion, it shows her rewriting the entire fairy tale, banning the prince, replacing dwarfs with ethically optimized companions, and delivering endless monologues to a bored audience of animated townspeople. The climax, a chaotic meltdown during a parody late-night show that leaves even Cartman speechless. For Rachel, it's not just another jab. It's a loud cultural alarm bell. When Rick and Morty targets you, it's more than just mockery. It means your controversy has transcended headlines and become part of modern satire. The show has lampooned presidents, tech moguls, and celebrities, but only when their behavior tips into the absurd. For Rachel, being featured isn't just a punchline. It's a full-blown eulogy for the Hollywood ATG girl status she once held. There's always room for a turnaround. Rick and Morty has skewered figures who've since rebuilt their careers, but Rachel Zegler's road back will require something close to reinvention. Between the box office collapse, the meme-worthy interviews, and the growing industry silence, the pressure on her next move is enormous. Because in a business where perception is everything, hers has become fractured, and now everyone's watching to see if it's even possible to glue it back together.